Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here. It's the first time I've been in Italy, and so far it is an absolutely beautiful country. I intend to come back many times. And I also want to say my apologies. I do not speak Italian, so I've been told I should speak slowly for the translators. But look out, I usually get pretty amped up, and I talk pretty fast sometimes. So we'll try to be good about it. Okay. As you can see, I'm talking about creativity in the digital dialogue. Why say digital dialogue? Somebody said to me, well, Mike, why don't you put the digital space or something like that? And I said, well, really, that isn't indicative of what we're talking about, because the unique thing about the digital world and about digital creative is that we're not talking about simply a mobile phone or a laptop or an iPad. What we're talking about that is intrinsically digital is the uniqueness of interactivity, actually the uniqueness of multi-way communication. And for the first time for creatives, all of a sudden we're recognizing that there's some control that's being lost. And we'll talk about that. Because when I really think about creativity is seeing what everyone else is seeing and imagining it in an absolutely different way. But there's one thing that has broken the rules here. Technology has added a new warp to creativity. What do I mean by that? Well, content is liquid. So your brand message, pretend it's like this water in this bottle. It is to conform to the bottle. And if I had a different container, this water would conform exactly to that. So let's think about this container here as a YouTube video. And maybe another one that you might have, a cup, as being a text message or being a tweet. And the problem that we have, or being a television commercial, or being in out of doors, and the problem that we have is how does our message conform to each one of those mediums? And that requires that we have to know about those mediums. So when I think about it, there's another couple problems. Communication has to always be on, too. You have to be ready at every moment for your user. And then on top of that, advertising now is about orchestration, not integration. When I first came into the world of advertising, I was the red-headed stepchild. I had an interactive advertising shop. And we get called by Wyden Kennedy or Goodby Silverstein and Partners, and they would say, would you make us a banner? Or would you make us a website? And would you just repeat what we've done in print? And I said, no, that's integration. That's just stamping out something that you've already done into another form. And that's not effective, because the effectiveness is orchestration. I came to Google because I recognized that instead of being a creative director, I was now a conductor. And what do I mean by that? I had to understand what online was about. I had to understand what out-of-home was about. I had to understand television. I had to understand mobile. And not to mention all these social components like YouTube or Android or G+, or Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest. And if you look at all those apertures, what you have to realize is each one of those is as unique as an instrument in an orchestra. And that's why I say I'm a conductor, because I have to understand, and we have to understand, when is the right time to cue the next orchestra, the next music piece. And just like music, there's certain tones that will work and certain notes that work together. So it is in digital advertising and digital marketing. Another thing that we want to think about, too, is that brands have never been so transparent. I'll ask you a question. Do you know who this man is? We have sound?
On the grounds of service self-certification that they serve the national.
Okay. All right. Does anybody know who this man is? Who? It's Edward Snowden. Why do I bring him up? Because you think brands are transparent? Even the United States government is transparent right now. So brands cannot lie anymore. I can find out anything I want about a brand. If they lie, I know it. And this is difficult because we used to promise things that we couldn't deliver in advertising sometimes. Or we would fabricate an idea. And really and truly, now it is all about telling the truth. Because audiences have never been more smart, more fast, and more informed. So when I think about it, then things have really changed. The power has shifted here. It's no longer about an audience. It happens to be now that the user is control. And when I say user, I'm not talking about a drug addict. I'm talking about you and myself and the way we use the internet. The way we use digital. Because now we expect advertising to be a tool. Why do you watch a television commercial? Because you expect to be entertained. Why do you click on a banner or you look at a website? Because you expect to be informed. And then finally, what else is our expectation? I want to get something. I want to be provided a utility. So remember, it's not about an audience anymore. It's about a user. And the user expects advertising to actually be a tool. And like a good tool, you make things from it. You hand it down to others. And that's what technology is. And quite frankly, you're not going to pay any attention to just being bored by a lie anymore. You're going to have to be entertained, informed, or provided a utility to actually do this. And when we talk about the mobile world, you're going to have to be when I want it, you're going to have to be where I want it, and you're going to have to be how I want it. Now that is a difficult situation for any creative in any agency. So let's think about it. Let's consider entertainment. When we consider entertainment, think of this. An idea that is memorable, that can surprise and delight and become part of the cultural zeitgeist is difficult to do, but it still can be done. And I'm going to show you an example that you probably all have seen. But I love it because what Van Damme did, this aging Belgian actor, actually changed the way Volvo is thought of with their trucks.
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Okay? And when we're talking about information, if an idea can solve a problem, answer a question, it may not even need advertising. I'd like to have a show of hands. How many people have this app on their mobile phones? This is Uber. Now, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you saw an advertisement about Uber? This is the perfect little informational utility. Why? Because it answers a direct need and a direct question. Think about this one. Shazam. It answers a question. How many of you have sat and asked the question, what is that song? And you just pull out Shazam. This is one of my favorite apps. The whole point of this is to recognize that you need to either entertain someone, the expectation is going to be high, inform them, or even still, provide a utility. Now, what is a utility about? That's creative ideas that enable rather than interrupt, that provide something necessary and will become an important and intrinsic part of the user's daily life. Now, how many of you can claim to actually have become part of the user's daily life? I once had the CMO of one of the largest automobile manufacturers in the world say, you Google guys, all you ever do is you talk about mobile this, mobile that. I've never seen an effective branding campaign on a mobile phone. And I said, oh, really? I said, and we were in Cannes at the time, and I said, how did you get here from the airport? And he said, well, I took a taxi. And I said, what if you didn't have a taxi? How would you have gotten here? And I said, I'll tell you how you would have gotten here. You would have used one of the greatest branding campaigns I've ever seen. And I pulled out my mobile phone and I said, it's called Google Maps. And I said, and the light bulb went on because I told him, this is exactly Google's brand. It delivers the information where you want it, when you want it, how you want it, completely relevant to you instantly. That's what Google stands for. That's the way we should be thinking about advertising now. Here's a very interesting way to look at an advertising idea and marketing idea in a completely unique way. This happens to be Third Eye. It's a crowdsourcing vision utility.
Viewfinder image. Double tap to take a picture. Uploading. Awaiting reply. I see a small stream in the foreground. Shape the next reply. To your left, I see red tulips blooming. There's a group of runners stretching and warming up. Uploading. The oranges are from Australia, and they look very fresh. I see a great buy. You should get them.
So, to be truly creative, brands must do something easier, faster, cooler, or better than what it currently exists. That is a very difficult requirement. So the big question then would be, what's still creatively relevant in this techno-social world then? What can we bring as creatives to the party? Well, first of all, curiosity. As far as I'm concerned, curiosity fuels the engine of creativity. If you're not curious, you're not going to be creative. It's the creatives who challenge accepted ways of thinking, consciously or unconsciously, that end up creating the very best work as far as I'm concerned. And the truly great creatives that I know are constantly working, looking, and thinking and watching. So they'll ask questions like, why must video be confined to a screen? Have you ever thought about that? Why couldn't video be everywhere? I have a team called ZooX, and we've been working on some augmented reality pieces. One of them is in situ video, where we actually map video to Google Street into place. And so if you understand Google Street, basically what it is a car driving down the street and filming like this the whole time. It creates this long cylindrical skin that we can map images to. So you look at this innocuous patio, And what's going on? There's actually two people having a conversation there, mapped to this place. You can watch them walk in. You can watch them walk out. You can be a part of this. Now, the crazy thing is I could bring somebody in and say, participate in this as well. And they could walk in, and I could film them along with these people, and I could leave that information there in that spot for other people to pick up. So it's a crazy idea, but this is where things are going. This is a communion, basically, of video and people being able to add to it and be a part of it. And you maintain time all the time without interrupting it. Another question I've been asked is, why must I buy before I can brag? One of the things about buying a car is you want to brag about the car. But do I have to pay for it beforehand? Sometimes people will buy something and they'll come home and they'll put it on and look at it in the mirror in their own home, and it doesn't look quite as good as it did in the mirror at the store. So you take it back. But you can't do that with a car. But you can. Because what we've done is we've thought about this and we've said, all right, you go to a dealership and you talk to some obnoxious salesman. The salesman finally says, just here, take the car home. And he hands a card to him, his business card, with an image on it. I take that image home and I put it in my driveway. And I basically hold my mobile phone up to it, it scans the image, and we'll put that car in my driveway in 3 dimensions. I can walk all the way around that car. I could basically paint the car whatever color I wanted it to be that comes in the package. I could change the wheels. I do everything. My best friend could walk over and stand in front of the car, and I could photograph him and send it to the rest of my friends. But the idea is that we've got augmented reality to curry and your pride in this. So I can make it what I want it to be, have it in my own yard, find out how much it'll cost, and basically find the places where I can buy it right then and there. Originality is another piece of creative that we bring. Something that is necessary whether you're digital or traditional, and there really is no traditional advertising anymore. Everything's digital. But with originality, there's really nothing new under the sun, you think. And in my opinion, there are fresh combinations of things, though. The brilliance, the innovation exists in the collage, the coming together of different things to create something else. This is why it's so important in brainstorms now to have a creative technologist. The traditional brainstorm that I grew up in was an art director and a copywriter brainstorming on an idea. Now we never have a brainstorm without a creative technologist in there, because that person can pick up what are the combinations of things that we're talking about, and we can all add together into technological creativity. So this is the kind of thing we think about. We've invented this thing called Street Zoo, where you understand what Google Street is, but in reality, you can map something completely different to this. And so what we've done is combined WebGL, which is a 3-dimensional environment, with the environment of street. And you could actually see things happening here. Now, they're going to be launching a movie, the new Jurassic Park movie. And this is what we're talking about doing with them. So you'll be able to see dinosaurs here in Milano running down the street. But these are the kinds of things that you have to know are happening so that you could apply that idea or a way of utilizing that idea and mashing it up with some of the creative ideas that you have. That's what we're here for, to help you. That's what my group called The Zoo is all about. The next thing is simplicity. As we all know, keeping it simple is really not a stupid thing. It's a great thing. But in my opinion, the power of reduction means taking the complex thought and reducing it down to the simple, powerful message. It's the same way with technology. when you begin to think about technology as applied to creative, don't think about multiple layers of this. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Because there's only one space you want to fill. Only one. And that's the space between somebody's ears. If your message is too complicated, it'll bewilder and confuse the audience. If the technology you use is too complicated, people won't even use it. This is one that I found so sublime and so simple. This is the wake-up call by Helly Hansen. And it's so simple. All they did was mash up an understanding of how I link to weather report into when I want to wake up. It's very simple application. The next thing is honesty. And for my money, this is the key and the biggest trial that we've got. Because any brilliant piece of advertising nowadays has to express a distinct point of view. But with the digital world, with multiple ways of communicating here, what happens? If that point of view doesn't contain a truth, you can bet the work's impact will definitely be fleeting. Now, this is a video, a commercial, that appeared at the Super Bowl just this last year. I want you to watch it. It gets a little burdensome, but just watch.
Is there anything more American than America? Because you can't import original. You can't fake true cool. You can't duplicate legacy. Because what Detroit created was a first and became an inspiration to the rest of the world. Yeah, Detroit made cars, and cars made America. Making the best, making the finest takes conviction. And you can't import the heart and soul of every man and woman working on the line. You can search the world over for the finer things, but you won't find a match for the American road and the creatures that live on it. Because we believe in the zoom and the roar and the thrust. And when it's made here, it's made with the one thing you can't import from anywhere else. American pride. So let Germany brew your beer. Let Switzerland make your watch. Let Asia assemble your phone. We will build your car.
Now, even for me, an American, that is so over the top, it's ridiculous. And as far as I'm concerned, you throw at me an aging Bob Dylan who does not look very good. And then you throw in there James Dean, you have cowboys, you have somebody literally draped in the American flag, and you think, oh my God, am I supposed to be proud or embarrassed? But really, Chrysler, this came on at the Super Bowl, and the immediate reaction was this: an American company? I thought it's owned by Fiat. And the credibility of that brand went right into the gutter with that advertisement. And you know how much money they spent on that. So you've got to beware. Honesty is really the best policy. Mom was right. Truth, simply expressed, is the difference between your work being meaningful or being meaningless. As far as I'm concerned, truth is basically your greatest weapon when you're doing digital advertising. The final piece is creativity. Creativity in and of itself is interesting because every facet of our lives is influenced by creativity. Every facet. Yet few people have a clear idea of how to define it or what it means to be creative. I was put on the spot just about 3 hours ago. I said, Mike, define creativity. And I just kind of scratched my head. And I said, well, I think it's just imagining something that nobody else can imagine. But the fact is it's really hard to define that. It's about being aware, being curious, being playful, inventive, humble, clever, but above all, passionate. Because those are the necessary ingredients for creativity. And if you find a creative technologist or a partner that is as passionate as you are about your creative, that's a wonderful chemistry to have with them. Creativity is expressed, in my opinion, in two forms. In the first form, it's innovation. That's from the Greek word asa, and it means to create something from something. And really and truly, YouTube is that. YouTube is incredibly unique, but really and truly, all YouTube is a democratization of video. What we stumbled on with YouTube is that at the invention of the camcorder, people started to think that archiving life was just as important as living it and experiencing it. So what did we find out? We live now a life in narration. We're stars in our own personal movie. And all YouTube is the experiences of everybody around the world easily uploaded and left there for others to relate to. Solar, the guy who used to be the CEO of YouTube, asked me one day, why should brands be on YouTube? And I said, well, you know, it's kind of weird. I won't give you the same answer most marketing people give you. I'll just tell you this, that YouTube contains almost everybody's experience around the world. And the funny thing about it is that YouTube's like walking past a mirror on the street. You can't help but look into it and see a reflection of who you are. And if brands aren't there, they are missing a huge opportunity to be relevant to that experience. So innovation is one way of doing it. Invention is another. Invention comes from the Greek word bara, which means creating something actually from nothing. Now, each of these are important. One changes behaviors. Innovation changes behaviors. But invention actually changes the world. Here's one invention, Google Glass, that I think will change the world. Maybe not in the fact that everybody will walk around with a pair of glasses, but that all of a sudden computing is going to become far more intimate, far more personal. If you watch this video, if you've never seen it, up in the top right corner is what you see with Google Glass. If you ever see somebody with Google Glass, particularly if you go to the Google campus in Mountain View, you'll see people doing this. They're not swatting flies. They're actually scrolling. And then they're talking to the air. They're actually giving commands. Here's how it works.
Okay, Glass, record a video.
This is it. We're on in 2 minutes.
Okay, Glass, hang out with the Flying Club.
Google photos of tiger heads. You ready? You ready?
Right there. Okay, Glass, take a picture.
That is awesome.
Okay, class, record a video.
After this bridge, first exit.
Cool. Stay delicious and Thai.
Arroy.
Arroy.
Google jellyfish.
Well, let's see. It's beautiful.
People have asked me, what do you expect is going to happen in the future, Mike? I said, it's really, really simple. We've learned to right-click or option-click on things on our laptop to find out more information about them. We will be right-clicking on the world. There will be nothing that you see that will not be annotated digitally. And I'll be able to find out anything I need about anything, whether it's a building outside and the history behind that building or what that monitor might cost. And that's the way it's going to be, because we're going to be living in this augmented world, whether you like it or not. And there's a couple messages to be learned from this. And you ask, Mike, what does this have to do with branding and creativity? Well, there's a lesson learned. And that lesson is that when technology gets 1 centimeter from your frontal lobe, things get personal. And when things get that personal, you don't want to be interrupted. How many of you have had a text message from a brand that you didn't want? You feel like your privacy has been invaded. Well, that's exactly what this is going to be, because interruption and disruption will not be invited into this party. This party of me interacting not only in the real world, but in the virtual world at the same time. The only thing that's going to get in is relevant, compelling, and particularly useful creative content. That will be the only ticket in for brands. So when you think about it, it's not about just interrupting and getting somebody's attention. It's about engaging them. So creativity is not an occupation. Really and truly, I'd probably pay to be a creative director rather than earn money from it. It's a preoccupation. And when I find people to come to work in the zoo, there's 4 things I require of them. First of all is vision. And just like Steve Jobs, vision is seeing something that nobody else can see. Do you have that capability? The second thing I ask them, are you persuasive? Can you persuade somebody of the veracity of that idea, that vision, and get them on the bus to go with you? The third thing, and probably one of the most important things, is passion. And as far as I'm concerned, passion has nothing to do with how much time you spend, how many iterations you've made of a particular creative comp or mock. Passion is about the ability and the pride of you building something and you signing your name to it. If you can't sign your name to the creative that you've done, then really, why do you expect anybody else to care about it? And then the last one, in my opinion, is the most important one for creative, and that's humility. Because humility, as far as I'm concerned, is the fire that starts creative and keeps it going. So if you take away anything from this speech that I gave you, I think you should remember 5 things. 1, be user-focused. This isn't about an audience anymore. This is about an active, engaged user. And that user expects advertising to be a tool to entertain, to inform, or to provide some sort of utility for them. Secondly, orchestrate. Forget about integration. This is about orchestration, and the effectiveness of any campaign can be measured in its ability to understand the unique attributes and properties of platforms, devices, technologies, and media, and knowing how and when to apply them. If you don't know these things, you have friends to help you. That's why we started the zoo, was to help agencies so they could figure out and navigate what are the opportunities that they could utilize with Google. But orchestration is the key to understanding the tonality of all of those media points and tying it together into a symphony. The third thing, and this is why a lot of people come to Google, is insights. We have more vast knowledge than can be believed. So much so it's even difficult for us to get our heads around it. But insights is that distillation of that data. And as far as I'm concerned, the validity of a strategy and the truth behind any campaign is directly dependent on its ability to address a key insight. And really and truly, the insight now is much more deep than it was before, because now we're finding all this feedback from engagement digitally. The fourth thing is technology is not an idea. Many people presume that if it's cool, it's an idea. Technology is only a vehicle to express that idea. That's why when somebody asks me, is Google competing with agencies? I say, hell no. We're here to help agencies most effectively express their ideas by understanding what technology is out there. But we don't presume technology to be the idea. And then finally, number 5, and this to me is the most important, is stay humble. As far as I'm concerned, humility is the mother of creativity. When you begin to believe your clippings, when you think you have all the answers, when you believe you're the only one that gets it in the room, guess what? You're no longer creative. You're really and truly just a bore. And the fact is, there's a lot of people with very, very good ideas that may or may not necessarily be a creative. Great digital creative isn't easy. It's really, really hard. It's part art and it's part science. But it still takes something that creatives have. And that's that mercurial spark of creative genius that's not afraid to actually try to go for greatness.
Greatness is a scary thing. Until it isn't.
It's really simple. Stay humble, be great. Thank you.